Okay, this is the PC. This is where we make the drawings and we choose the tools that are going to work on the machine. To make the drawings, we have to activate Stone CAD. CAD stands for Computer Aided Design, and it's where we can draw geometrical shapes that we're going to produce on the machine. Okay, so I'll just click twice to open this one, and then we have this window here, which is our drawing area. And if it looks familiar, you can see here, this is our Cartesian graph, like what we used for the machine when we zeroed it earlier on. Now, on our drawing toolbar, we have different functions. This is for drawing points, this is for drawing lines, arcs, circles, curves, and macro is a culmination of rectangles, polygons, or different shapes that you want to draw. So basically, these icons from point to macro is what you want to draw. Now, this icon here is base point. This is how we put the part of our drawing on the page. Now, when we move our cursor over each one of these icons, it tells us what it does. Okay. Now, if I click on base point, I have another menu open down this left hand side. Okay. Now I don't have the tools available to put them on the drawing page. I now have to decide what I want to draw. So for instance, if I click on a line, I have another menu appear here. And if I move my cursor across that menu, it tells me what function it has. For instance, this one's a line from 2 points, tangent to an arc, we have parallel line here, horizontal, vertical, and a culmination of both there. Okay. When I choose something that I want to draw, my base point menu becomes active. Now, the first one on the base point menu is cursor. Okay. And basically, everywhere I left click, because I've activated a line from 2 points, it will do a start position for that line. Okay. And then at the bottom of the left hand corner of the screen, it'll say a line through 2 points, where's your second point? So I left click again. Okay. Because the menu's still activated, I have a line through 2 points, first point. So again, I can draw, start there and finish there. Now, this is all very well, but it's not accurate. Okay, so we'll have a look at another few functions on the base point menu. For instance, the next one is end entity. If I select that, I move my cursor towards the line, and I'm still drawing a line from 2 points. Wherever I click near that line, it will go directly to the end of that line. Okay. If I'm over halfway of the line, it chooses the end point nearest to the halfway. So for instance, if I left click here, it goes to that end. If I left click here, it jumps to that end. Okay. And also there. So that's end entity. If I wanted to draw a line from the middle, because every entity has a start, middle and finish, I left click on that line anywhere. Oh, sorry. I left click on, so first select half entity, I'll left click on that line and it'll go exactly halfway down that line to halfway on the other line, wherever I want. Okay. The next function on base point is for depicting the centre of circles. So if we had a circle drawn, it would choose the exact centre of the circle. Okay. The next function is entities intersection, and this is where two lines cross, not necessarily the middle or the end, but where one line meets another line. So I have the option then of choosing two lines, this line and this line, where they cross. For instance, this point here is not in the middle of this line, and it's not at the end, but I can still choose that point by entities extension and choosing this line, and it attaches itself to that point. And then I can choose this line and this line again. The next function down is gravity. Now if I move my cursor over the line, you can see it lights up. And this has no reference to start, middle or end or any value at all, it's just by eye basically. I want to start my line there and I want to finish it there. but it's just by eye. Okay. The next one, automatic, will automatically pick up start, middle, end. Okay. So rather than choosing end or middle independently, you could have it on automatic if you liked, and it would automatically go to that point. Okay. When we've selected a line, the icon recesses. Okay, and that means that function is the one that we've chosen to draw with. If I want to drop that function, I right click on the mouse, and you can see there it's not recessed anymore. Okay, so to pick up a tool you left click, and to drop a tool you right click. Okay, if you want to delete something, you left click on what you want to delete, and you can either press erase, which will delete it, or you can select what you want to delete and press delete on the keyboard. Okay. Alright. If you decide you've deleted something that you don't want to delete, you can undo or cancel, or you can redo. Okay. If you want to delete everything, you can drag a box around what you want to select and press delete. If you don't want to delete it, undo. So anything at this stage, if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world, because you can get back the information that you've chosen or choose to delete. This is all very good, but for the pieces for our machine, on the Cartesian graph, the bottom left hand corner of our piece needs to be in this section here, which is 0. Okay, and like the one that I drew out earlier, this is x plus, x minus, y plus, y minus down here. Every time we do a drawing for the machine, we have to do 2 drawings. It's one drawing, but it has 2 parts. We have the part that goes on the machine, that slides up to our stops, and then the part that comes off our machine. The part that goes on the machine is always a rectangle. So to draw a rectangle, we go to macro. Okay, and we press enter on the keyboard, because down here it says select entity or area. I'm going to press enter. Oh, sorry. I choose macro and rectangle, sorry. And now it says creation of rectangle first point. I press enter on the keyboard to enter coordinates by the keyboard, and our first position is 0, 0. If I press enter again, you can see that it's attached itself right into the centre of the Cartesian graph. If I press enter again, I can put in the size of the stone that I want to put on the machine. So in here I put 950 for instance, and I can jump down with the mouse or with the tab key, and then I can use 600 and enter, and that's drawn a rectangle into top right hand quadrant of the Cartesian graph. If I want to see everything, I press A on the keyboard for auto scale, and that's a rectangle we've just drawn. Now, as I explained earlier, that is the part that goes on the machine. Inside that rectangle we have to draw the part that comes off the machine. So we'll just create a vanity unit, just a simple one, just to explain the function. On our lines menu, which is activated here, you can see that a menu appears and reappears, and I want to use automatic parallel to make a 5mm parallel line from this side, and the front side. So I'll select automatic parallel, and I'll put a distance in of 5mm. Select OK, and now I position my cursor on the near to the line that I want to parallel, and on the side of the line. I don't want to parallel that side, I want to parallel this side, so I left click, and it's drawn a 5mm parallel. And then I can left click here and left click here. Okay.
And on the top.
The top usually goes to the back of the wall, but if you were doing an island unit, for instance, and you're cutting all the way around, you go to the top as well.
You mean that on the parallel is where is where it's going to be polished and everything.
Yeah, exactly. This is a line that's going to be cut and finished at the end. Okay. So also now I want to make a radius corner here. So I look on my menu for something that looks like a corner. And this one looks like a corner. Edges. On the edges menu, if I turn it on and off, another menu appears, which is down here on the right hand side. And the top one is called fillet, which means radius corner. I select fillet and I input the radius that I want to make that corner. So we'll say 100. And OK. I move the cursor into the corner where I want the radius and left click. And it makes a 100mm radius. Move to the other side, makes a 100mm radius. Okay. Now in the centre of these two lines and the centre of that line, I want to put a hole cut out for a basing. So I want two lines for positioning. We'll call them construction lines. So again, on our lines menu, yeah, which is this menu here, you can see when I turn it on and off, I can select median, which means it'll draw a line in the middle of two lines. So with median, I'll select the top line and the inside line, and it puts a line across exactly in the middle. Okay. Now I'll select this inside 5mm line and this inside 5mm line, and now I've got exactly the middle of my piece. Okay. Now I want to put a circle in the middle. So I look on my menu for something that looks like a circle. Okay. And I select circle. When I select circle, another menu appears and disappears. And if you can see, it's on the right hand side at the top. Okay. On this menu we have circle with centre and diameter, centre and radius, centre and 2 points, many different functions for drawing circles. I'm going to choose the first one, which is centre and diameter, and I'm going to input a diameter of 350 and select OK. You see, that is my circle. Now I need to choose on how I'm going to put it on the page. I'm going to put it on the page on the intersection of where that line crosses that line, and that's my circle drawn. Okay. We'll also draw a tap hole in here, and I want the tap hole 75mm from the top of this one above here. So to find the centre of the tap, I'm going to need a position. So first of all, I'm going to choose horizontal, which is on the lines menu. I'm going to draw a horizontal line, and I'm going to choose intersection of this line and this line. Now I'm going to choose parallel, and I'm going to parallel off that line 75mm. So up there. So now I've got the centre for my tap hole. Tap hole's a circle, which is on that menu there. I choose centre and diameter, and this time 35. 35 is a standard size for a mixer tap. Press enter, and I'm going to input my circle on the intersection, which is that function, of this line and this line. Now I finish drawing circles, so I right click and I drop the circle. Now the construction lines I don't need, so I select each one of them. If I select one, the other line becomes deselected. If I want to select more than one line, I hold Control, and then I can select all of them, and then delete. And that's our finished piece. Okay, any questions?
No.
So far so good.
Okay, if everything's okay, we save our drawing, and we save it in a folder called Draw. And we'll call Vanity. And that's a brief look at Intercad. Now we're going to draw a vanity unit. So we go inside Intercad. And first of all we draw the slab of stone that we're going to put on the machine. So we select rectangle and we choose its first position. Down here it says creation of rectangle first point. We press enter on the keyboard and it gives us a position 0, 0. This is always where we start to draw our rectangles. Press enter again and enter again, and now we put in the size of our rectangle, which is going to be 1580 by 702, and we press enter again. We press A on the keyboard for auto scale, and that shows us the rectangle we've drawn. Okay, now we're going to go to the lines menu, which if I turn on this one on and off I can see my lines, and I need a parallel line 5mm, and I want 5mm from this edge, and this edge. I need another parallel line 150mm from the front, so from here 150mm. I need two more at 175, so 175 from the left and 175 from the right. I'm going to put a radius corner now here and here. So I look on the toolbar menu, the main one, for something that looks like edges. I turn on and off and see the menu appear down here, which is fillet. I put in the size of the radius, 100, and I move the cursor to the inside of the corner, and it creates a radius automatically. Proceed to the other side and repeat the operation. Now I want to make an arc through these 3 points, so where these two lines cross from the middle of this line and to where the two lines cross on this side. So I go to my main drawing menu and I find arcs. I turn on and off the menu to see where the menu appears, and it's up here. I'm going to use the option of 3-pointed arc. I select arc through 3 points, and now I decide with base point what function I'm going to use to start the arc. So the function I'm using is entities intersection, and I start my line or arc where this line meets with this line. So that's my first point of the arc. Now it's asking for second point. This time I'm going to use middle or half entity on the base point menu, and I move to the middle of the line that I want to attach to. Down at the bottom now asks for a third point, so again I use entities intersection to choose this line and this line. So now we've created a rounded front for the front of our vanity unit. I right click on the mouse to drop the tool, and now I want to put a radius in here and a radius in here of 150mm. I go to my edges menu again and see where the menu appears, and I select fillet again. Okay, and I select 150. Now if I make the fillet here, it creates an error. So I drop the tool and I undo, because first I need to delete this line, and I'll repeat the same here. I'll try the fillet again, and I put inside the fillet, and it makes a nice round. But attention, I've lost the line to make the fillet at this end. So to complete the operation, first I need to cut the middle line. To cut something we use scissors, so I look on the main menu for the trim option. I turn on and off, and I can see on the right hand side top that there is a trim menu. The function I'm going to use is automatic cut, and I cut out the middle of the line. Now I can proceed and use fillet and put in the round at each side of the vanity unit. Now I need to find the centre of my finished piece in both directions for the centre of my sink cutout. For that I'm going to go to the lines menu, I turn on and off, and I look for the function median. I select median and the top of the rectangle and the bottom, and it puts a line directly through the middle. I also repeat the operation from right to left. Now I have a starting point for the centre of my sink. The sink I'm going to produce is going to be an ellipse. So for that function I go to macro, I turn on and off to see where the menu is, and I move my cursor to the function called ellipse. I select the ellipse and I tell the software how big I want the ellipse. I'm going to make it 700 by 400 and select OK. Now I'm going to put the centre of the ellipse where these two lines cross. So I need to activate Entities Intersection and select this line and this line. To drop the ellipse I right click. OK. Now I need a tap hole 60mm above the centre. Now to parallel off an arc is impossible, so first I need a straight line here. So it's a line. I need to go to the lines menu, turn on and off, and the function I'm going to use is horizontal. And I put that on the intersection of where this line meets this line. Sorry, hold on. Where this line meets this line. Now I can use a parallel line, distance 60 from here, and this is going to be the centre of my tap hole. The tap hole is a circle, so I see where the circles are, and I choose circle with centre and diameter. Diameter 35, and press enter. And I put the circle where on the intersection of where this line meets this line. Right click to drop the tool. Okay, we've drawn that using parallel lines as construction lines. What I mean by that is we don't need these, so we delete them. I select the line and holding Control select all the lines I don't need. Press delete. That is our finished vanity unit. Now we save, and we'll call this one Vanity 3. Okay. That was Stone CAD. Now we proceed to Stone CAM. Stone CAM is computer aided manufacturing. This is where we choose the tools that we want to work on what part of the drawing we've just drawn. Okay, this is Stone CAM, and first of all, whenever we enter in this program, we select New Project. Because it's new, it's not in our list, and we type in the name of our project. Our project will be Vanity 3. We choose which machine we have, which is a compact stone, and the material that we're going to put on the machine, and then we confirm. Next we proceed to Working Shapes Definition, and we load the drawing that we've previously drawn. Now in this drawing there's two kinds of shapes, closed profile and open profile. A closed profile is a circle, a rectangle, a triangle. It's a shape that doesn't have a start or a finish. Also we have open profile. Open profile is a shape that's like the front edge of our vanity unit that has a start and a finish. So first of all, we select close profile and all shapes. The software indicates that it's detected a circle of diameter 35, which it's going to consider as a centre point for our drilling, which is a later function that we'll be using. We select OK and we click on the tap hole. Now on the right hand side we can see the profiles that the software has detected. Profile 1 is our outside rectangle, Profile 2 is our sink cutout, and Profile 3 is our tap hole. If we like, we can rename these. The first rectangle is going to be the slab of stone that we put on the machine. Then we have our ellipse, which is our sink cutout. And we have Profile 3, which is our tap hole. Now we select Open Profiles, and again we use all shapes. And if we can see on the right hand side again, we have a new profile, Profile number 4, which is the outside edge of our vanity unit. Okay, so we'll call that edge. We exit from Working Shapes definition, and the software indicates a drawing of the piece to be machined. We're going to change the view of this piece so it makes it easy for us programming and also easy to see the tools on the simulation in a later stage. We select Definition of Views, User, X angle 2, Y angle 0, Z angle 0, and apply. And then we get a better view of the piece that's to be machined. First of all, we're going to create the tap hole. And to create the tap hole, we select CAN cycles and macro jobs. When we click on this, we see a drill. Usually there'd be a selection of drills here, but we only have one at this moment in time. And it's the one we need, 35mm drill. So we confirm, and we select hole diameter 35. We proceed to parameter setting. Z depth is always 3mm greater than the piece of stone that we're putting on the machine, because there is a 3mm tolerance on every piece of stone we put on the machine. This particular stone is 30, so we're going to put 33. Safety set is the distance that the drill stops above the material before it starts its working parameters. If we leave at 2mm, it's possible there might be a crash because we already know there's a 3mm tolerance on our pieces. So we'll increase that to 5mm, so it stops a little bit further above the surface of the material. Z machining end is the distance after the drills drill through the material and lift it up to move to its next position. For this, we're going to make 30mm, just to give that extra bit of clearance. The other parameters concerning the drill is the speed through the material, which is a default setting that we don't change. Also, we have final speed, coolant stop distance, and speed reduction distance. What this relates to is that 2mm before the drill protrudes through the bottom of the material, the machine will slow down from 35mm a minute to 5mm a minute. Also, 2mm before the drill protrudes, it will turn off the internal water to reduce pressure inside the core drill. Okay. The next parameter, final additional movement, is 0.5 mm. That means when it goes through the bottom of the material, it goes an extra 0.5 mm. We'll increase that to 1mm. The next parameter, peck length, is 5. When the drill drills through the material, it doesn't go through in one hit. It relates to this parameter here, peck length. Now if this material is 30mm thick and our peck length is 5, the drill will go down 5mm, lift up, go down to 10, lift up, 15, etc. So for 30mm of granite, the drill will actually lift and lower 6 times. We can reduce that to 10mm. By that I mean it will go down 10, lift up, 20, lift up, 30, and it's through the material. The final parameter is safety distance peck. When the drill goes down, it goes down 10mm, then it lifts up, then it goes down 9.5mm, and then proceeds again in its feed rate. So there is a 0.5mm gap between rapid movement and feed rate. We select OK and we confirm the drill. Okay, so we've drilled the tap hole and now we need to cut out the sink. But unfortunate for us, we don't have any tools programmed in for cutting out the sink. So now we're going to input a router for cutting out the sink. We go to the icon on the left hand side, Tools table. Okay, and this is the memory bank of all the tools inside the machine. And as you can see at the moment, we just have two. One 35mm drill and one router for granite. Okay, so we go to this icon and we select New. And our tool code is the order code for the tool, and we're going to call it 602. And now we give it a brief description of what it is, and it's a 50mm marble router. In the tool classes, we have to tell the software what type of tool it is, whether it's a diamond wheel for edge, a polishing wheel. This particular tool is a mill. Okay, and we have to select what machine we're going to use it on, and we're going to use it on the compact stone. The type of tool relates to the shape. Routers are flat, so it means it has a straight edge. If it was a different type of tool, it would change the icon. So whether it's a rounded tool on the bottom, or maybe it's a special profile where we can select a different shape. As it is, our tool is flat. Now we put in the diameter of our tool, which is 16, and the length of the tool, which is 70. Okay. Now we proceed to max diameter size. This is as big as a tool will get. Because our tool is flat, it is always 16. Our next parameter is minimum approach distance. This is how far away from the edge of the material the tool will start before it cuts. As a safety setting for a router, we'll put to 50mm. The software can accept any distance so long as it's half the maximum diameter plus 5mm. So that gives it a 5mm distance away from the edge. But it's safer for a router that it's always set to 50. The cutting height is the length of diamond that's on the base of the router. Our cutting height for this particular router is 50mm. Percent feed for approaching means that this router normally travels at 700mm a minute. Before it starts the cut, if we leave at 50%, it will go at 350mm a minute before it reaches this point, and then go 700mm a minute. Z for tool safety is a safety distance for when the router's finished its cut It will lift up above the material and travel to its next point. So there'll be a 50mm distance between the bottom of the tool and the surface of your material. The next check we have to check is coolant. The machine uses two kinds of water system, although here is indicated three. We use inside and outside water. We need to make sure that all these are activated. We confirm. Z for approaching is before the router starts to cut, it doesn't just stop 50mm away, but 5mm above the material before it proceeds in its feed rate to start its cutting operation. Once we've installed these parameters, we confirm, and that's our marble router now installed in the software. To exit, we use the red cross. Now we'll proceed to cut out the sink. To do this, we go to bordering or contouring jobs, and we select what class of tool we want to use. We want to use the mill. And now we have two routers in our memory. We have the 50mm marble router and the granite router. The marble router is the one we're using. We confirm, and now we choose which shape we want to use for this router. It's going to be our sink, and we confirm. The first operation is to put the tool on the right side of the sink line. We do this by activating this green square. So that is outside, this is inside. To cut out a sink we need to be on the inside. Okay. Underneath 602 50mm marble router we have the parameters for that tool. And that is the speed through the material and the rotation. As we've said before, we can increase the feed rate to 700mm a minute. Now we have to tell the software the thickness of our material. This particular material is going to be 20mm thick. Also, we need to tell the software, do we need to leave anything for polishing? If we were to polish the inside of the sink, the stock would be 1, which means we would leave 1mm for the rest of the tooling to polish the edge. On this particular occasion we're just going to cut the shape. Now we proceed to lead in length and lead out length. This is how the tool is going to attack the material. We click on the icon at the right hand side and we have different options for attacking the material. The first two functions are in Z, and usually we only use these inside a sequence. The next three are the ones we are concerned with. Corner leading is if we were to lead in from this area. Circular leading is if we're going to lead in on a shape that has a tangency, for instance our sink cutout. And normal leading is for leading in on straight edges. We select circular leading, so this is when the tool approaches the sink, will curve in. And also on the lead out we select circular. So the tool will circle in and circle out. Once we've activated these parameters, we select work and OK. Now the software automatically knows that when we're cutting a closed profile on the inside we need to drill a hole. So it brings another window asking us what drill we want to use. Again we're going to use a 35mm drill and we confirm. Again we tell it the Z depth 3mm bigger than the thickness of the material. We alter its final additional movement to 1mm and its peck length to 10mm. We select OK for the drill, and now we can see in the top right hand corner a machining list starting to appear. The first one is the drill for its tap hole. Next is the drill before our router cuts the shape, and the third one is our router cutting the shape. We still need though to cut the outside edge, so we go inside again, border or contouring jobs, and we choose the shape, edge, and confirm. Now you can see on the drawing which side the tool is on the line. If we leave the tool here, it will cut on the inside of the line, which is no good for our purpose. We need to put the tool on the outside of the line. Again, we need to tell the software the thickness of material and if we're polishing. At the moment we don't have polish wheels, so this will remain 0. Now, lead in length and lead out length. This time we're going to cut the shape and we're going to come out in the middle and start from the other side and come out in the middle again. To do this, because we're leading in on a straight line, we select corner leading, but to come out we're going to choose circular lead out. And also we're going to tell the machine that it's not going to happen in one pass but in 2 hits. So we select milling interrupted. We select work, and the software asks us select the point where to cut the profile. We say OK and choose the centre of the profile. We select OK, and now we can proceed to do a simulation of our machining. We select the first tool in our machining list, and then we move the cursor into the black page and right click and select simulation parameters. We select coordinates, step by step, and display tool, and simulation. The top right hand corner of the screen, we now have a video player control. We can press play to play the whole thing, or edge on incremental play. I find it easier to press enter on the keyboard, and if you look where the tap hole is, you can see that there's a white circle there now above it, and if you look to the top left hand corner, it's 5mm above the material in Z. If I press enter on the keyboard, it drops to -23 and lifts up to 30mm above the material and moves across to the hole before routering. Drops down onto the circle to -23 and lifts out. Now appears a router. We can tell it's a router because at the bottom left hand corner we have our code 602 50mm router. Continue to press enter and we see the tool circle into the shape and cut around the sink. Then it lifts out and moves to the edge of the vanity unit to proceed a cut -20mm in Z, circle out in the middle, and then proceed to the other side. The programming for our piece is now complete. We now have to think about positioning this stone on the machine. To do this, we select backstops and suction cups. First of all, we choose slab. This is a piece of stone going onto the machine, and it's the one that we need to show the position of. We confirm, we select backstops, and we want the backstops on the outside of our shape. We choose 1 on the shortest side and 2 on the longest side. Where these 3 backstops are, it creates a right angle for when we slide our stone for positioning. We select OK, and we go back inside backstops and suction cups, and we choose our slab, our sink, our tap and our edge, and we confirm. We go to suction cups and we select rectangles. The suction cups we have are 12 100 by 100 and 12 150 by 150 suction cups. We'll start with the biggest suction cups, and we'll position them in an area that's good for holding the piece, but also is good for not cutting through. For instance, we would not put a suction cup under a tap hole or on a cutting edge line for our sink, or for that matter the outside edge here. We need to position these so that they're inside the finished piece and holding firmly. Once we've positioned our suction cups, we activate optimised positioning, so the machine will position the cups in the fastest way, and we select OK. Now this is our finished project, and we save the project. By saving the project though, this doesn't mean the machining's finished, because now we have to convert the project into a language that the machine understands, which is ISO code. For that, we proceed to generating the ISO program. We select all, and we write the ISO program, and we choose a folder of where to save the program, which is on our machine, and that is on drive disk F on NC0001. And we select save and exit, and our programming is finished.